Hey, and welcome to the Joie Miller Podcast. I am Pastor Joie Miller from Champion Christian Center, and I am so excited to chat with you for a couple minutes today. Today, we're going to talk about holding it all together, the great balancing act of life. The great balancing act of life, which can maybe sometimes look like a circus rather than a great balancing act. I get asked the question all the time, how do you hold it all together? How do you balance everything that you do? And I must have a lot of people fooled because some days I feel like things are not held together as much as I would like them to. But I've learned some life hacks and tricks that I think can help you too. We have 5 kids, full-time ministry. Life is just chaotic in the best ways possible. And every season looks different. And so I want to encourage you today that if you're listening and you're like, I got to get my act together, that there is hope for you, that there's some small changes that you can make that can help you bring a little more balance to this thing called life. When my kids were little, I took them into a home goods store. And there were these balls. And all of a sudden I look and my child is holding these balls and they started to like juggle the balls. And before I knew it, I heard a huge shattering of glass on the floor. And what had happened was they thought that these balls were resilient, and really they were made of glass. And so I was so embarrassed. I had to leave the store, tell the sales clerk what had happened, yell at my child, and get the heck out of there. And so it was a day, if you know what I'm talking about. But I think about how life sometimes feels like that juggling act where if we drop something, it's just going to shatter all over the place. And so we have to realize that you might have to choose sometimes the things that we're doing and the things that we're choosing to do that they're actually part of God's plan for our lives. Some of us need to learn to say no to some stuff, and some of us need to learn to readjust our yes in a way that we are being super productive about the balls that we're juggling, because some of the balls that you're juggling are rubber, and if they fall, nothing's going to happen, and it's going to be fine, and they're going to bounce back. You know, your kid forgets lunch, it's going to be okay. Some of the balls that are made of glass are the things that are really important in our lives, the things that are going to shatter, that are going to be have a residual effect if they fall apart. You know, if you fall apart, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're in bed sick for a week because you've let yourself get run down, that is a ball that it needs some attention because people need you. And so it's adjusting your priorities. It's adjusting what is important to the goals and the vision that God has put into your heart for this year. It's just some minor adjustments. And so I want to talk to you about holding it all together. I think about the Proverbs 31 woman, and we all compare ourselves to this completely insane, wonderfully perfect woman. And a lot of times we can feel like we're dropping the ball. And Proverbs 31 says this in the Message version. I'm just going to read a little bit of what this woman is like. It's actually titled A Hymn to a Good Wife. A hymn to a good wife. So in our minds, we're like, okay, this woman, she's a good wife. She's a good mom. If you're doing all these things, then that gives you the label good. It says, a good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. Her husband trusts her without reserve and never has reason to regret it. Never spiteful, she treats him generously all her life long. She shops around for the best yarns and cottons. She enjoys knitting and sewing. She's like a trading ship that sails to faraway places and brings back exotic surprises. When's the last time you brought back an exotic surprise? She's up before dawn preparing a breakfast for her family and organizing her day. She looks over a field and buys it. Then with the money she puts aside, plants a garden. First thing in the morning, she dresses for work. Did you hear that, ladies? She actually gets dressed for work. Like no yoga pants, no pajama pants, no messy bun. Like she actually gets up and gets dressed for work. She senses the worth of her work and is in no hurry to call it quits for a day. And it goes on and on and on about all the things this amazing woman does to hold it all together. And of course, this is just a metaphorical woman. I don't think one woman could do all of these things in 24 hours. But it should make us say, you know, I want to live and I want to direct my life in a way that there's excellence about it. Because your life isn't always going to be balanced, so to say. It's not always going to have every piece of the pie that is going to be equal with work and spiritual life and with your marriage and your kids. Every season is going to require a different piece of the pie. But here's what you can be sure of, that every season you can exemplify excellence, joy, peace. There's not one season of your life that you have to feel like you're defeated and that everything's just falling apart around you. So I want to give you some life hacks and some tips that can keep you in a place of excellence, joy, and peace, holding it all together with the Lord. And so number one is this: learn to lead yourself. Learn to lead yourself, realizing that you are not the hero that you think that you are. So a lot of times we think that we can do it all and we can do it all well. And so you have to realize that you have limits. And so one of the things that you're going to realize as you lead yourself is the importance for you to get filled up. If you're not getting filled up, then pretty soon you're going to be on E, and you're going to be the one that is having a meltdown and that you're so frustrated and you feel overwhelmed and you feel discouraged. You have to fill yourself up daily. So you have to not only have self-care, where you're taking care of yourself, where you're getting dressed for the day, where you're brushing your teeth, where you're actually feeling good about yourself. Maybe that means to exercise. Maybe that means to spend extra time in prayer. Whatever that self-care is for you, you need to do it, because you can't lead others on an empty tank. You have to be the one who's taking initiative to take care of you. Other people are counting on you, so fill up daily. Get in God's presence. You need the grace to run the race. And so, if you're trying to do everything in your own strength, you're going to realize really quickly that doesn't go very far. So what does it mean to fill yourself up? Make a list. Make a list of things that you can do that will help you to feel better about yourself. And so when you do that, you're going to have a sense of strength about you, that you're going to have a want to, that as you're serving everyone around you, you're going to already feel like your needs are taken care of, and you're not going to be mad and bitter and upset and scattered and chaotic. You're actually going to lead from a place of peace and joy. Hey, it's Joey, and I want to take a minute to remind you to check out joiemiller.co to get all of your Rooted merch. Rooted is our word of 2024. We have Devos, we have sweatshirts, we have all things that are going to keep you rooted on your mission this year. So check it out at joiemiller.co today. And second thing with leading ourselves is not only to stay filled up, but we have to keep our emotions in check. Listen, lady, nobody's going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. You have to take control of your own emotions. And so, I tell people all the time, don't make big decisions when you're an emotional basket case. Make sure that you're keeping your emotions in their rightful place. And so a lot of times we make big decisions, or we take on extra things, or we quit things because we feel overwhelmed, when really all we need is a good nap and to get our emotions back in the place that they need to be. Take your thoughts captive, the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, to the obedience of Christ. So, a lot of times our emotions start with that thought that comes into our head. We're not good enough. I'm a bad mom. I'm not doing this well enough. And that feeling is just a lie. But when we take it on, it consumes us to a place that now our emotions are leading us, and we feel like we can't do anything. And so it's actually self-sabotage. So be diligent to take your emotions, to take your thoughts captive, and to keep your emotions in check. And that means in every area of your life. That means every time of the month. Keep those emotions in their rightful place. You're a spiritual being. You have emotions, and they can be good, but don't let them lead your life. Your emotions are never meant to lead you. And so when you do this, you're going to stop self-sabotaging, negativity, talking about yourself in a way that actually brings you down and makes you feel badly about yourself. You need to speak in alignment with who you truly are and what you believe that God is called you to be. So get the self-negativity out, and you're going to start feeling all filled up, and you're going to be able to lead yourself in this thing called life. Number 2 is create systems and standards. Create systems and standards. You are in control of your own life. If there's something you don't like about your life, allow frustration to be your catalyst to change. Maybe you are frustrated because your house is always a mess. Maybe you're frustrated because you never have time to read your Bible. What are the things that are frustrating you on a daily basis that make you feel like you're not in control of your own life? What are the things that when that ball drops and it shatters at the end of the day and you're like, man, like I'm disappointed in myself, I didn't do that again. You have the authority to change it. I remember years ago being so frustrated because my kids had a bad habit of just walking into the house, throwing their stuff on the floor, and going about their day. So I'd have shoes and coats and everything right in front of my front door. And it frustrated me so much that one day I had the thought, wait a second, I'm in charge here. If it's frustrating me, I have the authority to change it. And so I created systems. I created a place where they could hang their coats right inside the front door. I created punishments for them not doing what they're supposed to do. So whenever you realize, wait a second, I am not a victim to life. I'm actually in control to some extent of the things that frustrate me. Your whole perspective changes. You say, you know what? I can restructure my life. I can create systems. There is nothing that very few things in life that you can't figure out with a system or a structure. And so it's taking time to step back and instead of being overwhelmed, using that energy to say, how can I fix this? How can I get up earlier to structure my day so that I'm not 3 steps behind the entire day? What are the things that I can create within my household? What are the rules that I can create? And then being realistic too. There's going to be some days that the dishes just maybe don't get taken out of the dishwasher because you're too busy living your life. You're too busy doing things, and that's okay. Don't be a slave to your house, but at the same time, you can live in a way that is orderly, that there's not chaos. And so asking God to help you structure, what are the things that I can set in motion? What are the systems that I can put in place to alleviate frustration within my home so that I can get more done? When you create systems, your productivity and your capacity level soars. You realize, wait a second, I have a lot more time in my day than I thought that I did to balance all of these things, to hold everything together. There's a way that you can live your life that you're not always 3 steps behind, and it comes through structure and creating systems and standards. Number 3 is this. Look at your life objectively and subjectively. Think, what would I tell myself if I were looking at my schedule or looking at the life that I live? What is the advice that I would give myself? Because when we're in the middle of it, we're in the middle of the chaos, it's hard to see things clearly. And so you have to start to ask yourself, what would I speak into my own life? And so what you're going to find is that a lot of the things that are frustrating you or making you feel out of control are a lot easier to figure out than you might think. And so learn to look at your life with a different perspective. And so when you start to do this, you're going to give yourself a little more grace in the space that you're in. You're going to maybe not be so hard on yourself or say, you know what, that's really not that bad. You're just looking at it from a view that you're consumed in that moment by that thing. And so, stepping back and giving yourself space to really feel and to discern everybody's needs around you. Like we said before, you're not always going to give everybody the same piece of the pie. There's different seasons that require different things from you. And so there might be a busier season where you have to work more, and you know that for that season, maybe you're not going to be able to keep your house as tidy. Maybe you're not going to be able to spend as much quality time with the kids that you want to in that season. Well, it's short-lived. And so when you know that, you can prepare yourself for it. I'm not a bad mom because I'm at work. This is a short season of my life that I have to devote more to work. Or maybe you're feeling like maybe your kids need a little more from you in a certain season. So what do? Instead of beating yourself up, you just pivot and adjust, and you just say, okay, well, I'm going to on purpose spend more time with my kids in this season because the last season was a busier season. So it's not all about keeping everything perfectly balanced as much as it is of being sensitive and discerning who needs what from you in what season that you're in. And when you do this, you start to, like I said, give yourself a little bit more grace for that space and for that season. And so just make pivots, just adjust if you need to. But whatever you do, don't stay in a place of frustration. Don't stay in a place of chaos. Ask God to help you hold it all together. Ask Him to help you bring order into your life. You create the narrative. You're the one that's in control of your life. So start today. Start today and say, you know what? I might not be the Proverbs 31 woman who is doing all the things, but I can be the best version of myself, leading myself and leading my family into a place of peace instead of chaos. Well, I'm praying that God gives you the wisdom to hold it all together. Until next time, I'll talk to you on the Joie Miller Podcast.